Right. Good day. This is the YMCA Education Series. We are free and open to the public, so we encourage you to spread the word and invite your friends and family to participate. We host approximately 4 to 6 to 8 of these a month, depending on the year or the month, varying in all types of different topics. The program lasts about an hour. We may find you have questions. Feel free to hold on to those questions until the end. Anna will have a little time for questions. But if you do find a question that you want answered, feel free to put into the chat box, and I can also try to get that to Anna during the talk. Thank you again for joining us today. I would now like to introduce you to Anna Harris. Anna Harris is one of our works here at the North Suburban YMCA and is a nutritionist that we have here. Anna is a personal trainer and nutrition coach. She has an MA in communications and has been a part of our Y here since 2015. The topics today will be talking about protein. So the talk today is, why is my trainer talking about protein? Welcome, Anna.
Thanks so much, Pam. I am going to get started. So let's begin by covering our agenda. So the talk today is about protein because as a trainer, I get a lot of questions about how much protein do I need to eat? What are the best sources? Why do we need protein? And there are a lot of things people may already know, and there are a lot of things that are misconceptions. But today we'll talk about the basics and then finish by kind of going over why protein is so important besides just growing muscle. So today we'll talk about the building blocks of our bodies. We'll talk about the amounts that are needed based on your individual situation. We'll talk about some of the best protein sources and protein timing. We'll talk about supplementation, and I have some interesting videos about protein shakes. And we'll finish with reasons, as I mentioned, about why we need to have more protein. So these are the building blocks that we need to eat every day to survive and in certain quantities to thrive. So there are some macronutrients. Those are the ones that we need to eat in larger quantities. And that's where protein falls in along with carbs and fats. We also need water, and then micronutrients, some of the elements we need in smaller quantities like vitamins and minerals. And we'll cover it a little bit later, but eating well consistently helps people avoid some of the cravings that often plague us. So what happens when we digest protein? Let's zoom in just on protein today. So when we digest protein, it's broken down into its individual amino acid components. And after we absorb these amino acids, they go into liver and they process there, and then they enter the bloodstream and become part of the amino acid pool in the body. And that includes essential and non-essential amino acids. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But first, let's see what we use these amino acids for. We use them to break down food, specifically enzymes. We use them to transport proteins like lipoproteins, forming cholesterol. We use them to grow muscle, tissue, bone, plasma. We use them to provide an energy source. We use them for immune support with antibodies and immunoglobulins. We use them to help our brain chemicals, neurotransmitters. And sometimes we have extra, so we can use these amino acids to build new amino acids. And then if there is really an excessive amount, then they can be stored as glucose or glycogen or lipids. So a certain amount becomes too much, and then they're stored in the body. So where new protein ends up, it kind of depends on your genetic composition and depends what's available for energy in the body. Protein balance is important. There's a reason I have the gas tank here, and it really is similar to what's going on with gas now, because if we have too much, it's going to feel like a lot excess, and it's going to feel really priceless, as gas kind of is now. If we don't have enough, we're running on empty. So we have to continue maintaining protein balance, using those amino acids, and then topping a little bit more by eating throughout the day, eating more protein, because we're constantly leaking amino acids from that amino acid pool. And we have to keep eating enough protein to keep that balance, because what happens when the tank is running empty, then the body will get these amino acids from somewhere else. And very common way of doing that is cannibalizing the muscle, getting those amino acids from the muscle, from the bone, from the hormones, from lots of other tissues. So not having enough protein in the body is going to cause damage. And if you're running really low, that can really affect some of the important functions like digestion and growth and just immune support in general. But good news is that almost all foods contain protein, some protein, including vegetables, and the body doesn't really care where we get it from. I'll give you an example. A cup of broccoli is 3 grams of protein. A baked potato is 4 grams of protein. A cup of quinoa, that's almost a complete protein, is 5 grams of protein. Of course, if you go to animal sources, if you eat animal-based food, then you'll get a lot more protein there: meat, fish, chicken, and eggs. And all of that protein adds up. And it fluctuates throughout the day. There's a certain upper limit of getting protein that doesn't increase. And if you see this little chart on the side, basically, when we get that upper limit, that's it. There's no more protein that's being digested. All the extra is being stored as glycogen typically. And then when we don't eat, when we fast, the protein stores drop. And so the reason I'm showing this to you is because you can't get protein in one meal. Let's say you've gotten barely no protein throughout the day, and at the end of the day, you decide to have a big steak and make up for less protein throughout the day. So what happens is that the body will still need some protein supplies throughout the day, and we'll use them for muscle or tissue or bone. So it's important to maintain protein consumption throughout the day. And it typically takes 48 hours to synthesize protein after training. So a lot of the times, people are really anxious to eat protein, to get some protein right after training. And that's great. We got to keep that protein flowing. But the most important thing is doing that within 48 hours to keep that muscle growing. So the question is often how much protein do we need? So the basic recommendation, and that is just to survive, is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. So in order to get pounds to kilograms, you just divide them by 2.2. So here's an example. You have a 150-pound person will need 54 grams protein per day. So you divide 150 by 2.2 and multiply by 0.8. And that is your basic body need for protein. So remember, it's not just for muscle, it's for digestion, it's for brain chemicals, it's for your immune support, it's for bone tissue, lots of other functions that we need protein for. And that is the very, very basic minimum. We need to prevent the protein deficiency so our bodies can build new proteins from those building blocks. So remember, this is just to survive, not to thrive, and it's not the optimal amount. So let's look at different situations where we will need more protein. So ask yourself these questions. Number one, how active are you? So if you are physically active, you will need from 1.4 to 2 grams per kilogram. So already we're going up from 0.8 to almost 2. So that same 150-pound person that's active throughout the day will need 95 to 135 grams of protein per day. That recommendation 1.4 to 2, that varies a little bit by different resources. You know, the American Council on Exercise recommends from 1.2 to 2. ISA recommends 1.4 to 2, Precision Nutrition 1.4 to 2, but that is kind of a standard range, 1.4 to 2, and that depends on the amount of activity. More if you're doing something like high intensity training, if you're going to be swimming laps continuously, you will need more. And if people have certain physique goals, like if they're competing in a bodybuilding competition, they will need more protein. Next question would be how old you are. And those recommendations will vary on both ends. So if you are an elderly person, then you will need from 1.2 to 2 grams per kilogram. So that is almost as much as people that are consistently exercising. And the reason being is that one of the major threats to people 65 plus is the loss of muscle mass, sarcopenia, and lots of strength and function that progressively occurs with aging. And that loss, the reduction in skeletal muscle function often leads to gaining weight, and it can affect people in many ways directly and indirectly, including development of cardiovascular disease and diabetes and obesity. So protein helps build the new cells, helps maintain the muscle and the bone and the tissues and collagen production. And so keep in mind, though, that goes hand in hand with still staying active, because you need to break down the muscle to continue building it when it comes to muscle. But all the other functions, digestion, bone strength, those are all, those will all benefit from getting that high amount of protein. So for somebody who's 150 pounds, who's 65 plus, will need 82 to 136 grams of protein per day. On the other end of this is teens, growing, people that are just beginning to grow more, and they will need 0.5 gram per pound. So it's a very similar recommendation to the standard 0.8 per kilogram, because you end up with about the same 55 grams of protein per day. I'm not accounting for activity, but their cells are growing. So even at a younger age, at a lighter weight, you would need a decent amount of protein. And then finally, if women that are pregnant or breastfeeding will need ideally 1.22 per kilogram in early pregnancy and a little bit more in later pregnancy to support the growth of the baby and help maintain their system. Protein is also needed for repair. So not just tissue repair, but also immune repair. So when you're injured or sick, add a little bit more protein to your diet and it will help you recover faster. So we've talked about proteins consisting of amino acids. That's kind of the breakdown of those molecules. So there are non-essential amino acids. Those are the 12 amino acids we can actually make in our body. We don't need to eat them. Some of those amino acids could be alanine, glutamine, proline, tyrosine. So those are non-essential. We make them. So we already have them in that plasma pool. The essential amino acids are, and sometimes people say 8 or 9 of them, but those 8 are key. They are not available in the body, and those, the only way to get them is through food. So the best sources of amino acids are animal proteins, such as beef and poultry, eggs, fish. Animal proteins are most easily absorbed and used by the body. And foods that contain these essential amino acids are called complete proteins. And in addition to animal proteins, you can also get them from quinoa and buckwheat, dairy, and soy. Foods that contain some, but not all essential amino acids are called incomplete proteins. Those foods, for example, are nuts, seeds, and beans, and some grains. So if you follow a vegetarian or vegan diet, you would need to focus on getting a complete protein by combining some of those foods together to get you essential amino acids and keep your body strong. And then there are also conditionally essential amino acids. Those are, I call them nice to have. We can synthesize them, but not as effectively as essential amino acids. So they are nice to have around, especially during times of stress or injury or illness. So getting those will help you feel better. So let's talk about the best sources of amino acids. And I'm going kind of in proportion. The ones that are higher would be typically animal proteins, animal sources, which, as I had mentioned, are highest in amino acids. So here's an example: sirloin steak, 4 ounces. And I mentioned the preparation because that matters as well. You will get 33 grams of protein from a 4-ounce steak. And typically, you know, especially if you order it out at a restaurant, you would get more than 4 ounces. 4 ounces about the size of your palm. If you're wondering, if you're at a restaurant, you don't know what that amount is, typically that's your palm. And one thing to note, though, with some of those animals' protein sources, such as steak, is that you're getting a lot of saturated fat with it. So saturated fat can be helpful to the brain function. However, as it adds up, it's gonna lead to cardiovascular disease. An excessive amount will be not beneficial for the body. So fish is another great source of protein. So for example, sockeye salmon, 4 ounces grilled would give you 30 grams of protein. And fish is excellent for being low in saturated fat and low in sodium, depending on how you prepare it. So keep in mind the preparation. But it has other fats. It has really beneficial unsaturated fats, depending on the type of fish. And those are great for your body and great for your brain function. And fish is also high in omega-3s. So one thing to note with the added amount of fats in some of those foods, fat is very calorically dense. So if you eat more of it, you're going to get more calories. And if you are not exercising, you're not getting enough activity to balance it out, then it could be stored as fat and lead to excess body weight. So another great protein is turkey and chicken. Those are, when grilled, are fairly low in fat, but high in B vitamins. Chicken high in zinc and selenium, and turkey is so famous for that tryptophan that puts us to sleep on Thanksgiving, right? So from turkey, you would get 26 grams of protein for 3 ounces, similar to 27 for chicken breast. Dairy is a great source of protein, like cottage cheese, great snack, a great source of calcium, which is also beneficial for bone strength. And it has a very important amino acid, leucine, that we need a little bit more out of all the amino acids, because that really helps with the tissue rebuilding. So Let's see, ham steak is another great example of protein. 4 ounces of it grilled will give you 22 grams of protein. It's fairly low in calories. However, ham would be very high in sodium. So keep that in mind if you have high blood pressure or if you're watching out for the amount of sodium. Ham would have a higher concentration of it. Another great example of dairy protein is Greek yogurt. You get 20 grams for 7 ounces, which is why it's really great when you're making your protein shakes, adding that. It's also high in calcium and it's an excellent probiotic. Moving to some of the plant proteins, lentils are the best. It's the best plant protein around. It will give you not only 18 grams of protein per cup, it will also give you 15 grams of fiber for that cup, and it'll give you folate and potassium. So legumes in general, lentils, beans, peas, soybeans, and peanuts are also very high in lysine, which is another important amino acid for building bones and tissues. And also high in fiber. All of the legumes are high in fiber. And studies show that people who regularly consume lentils and other legumes have a lower risk of developing health conditions like heart disease and fatty liver disease. And that's why something like peanut butter in moderate amounts can be really, really beneficial. 2 tablespoons of peanut butter will give you 7 grams of protein. Okay. And other examples, quinoa is a great example of a plant protein. A cup will give you 8 grams. So it's a nearly complete protein, has lots of fiber and iron and zinc. Nuts, almost a complete protein, give you a good amount of protein and fiber, but keep in mind that it's mostly a fat. So there will be more fat in it than protein, but there will also be important vitamins and micronutrients like magnesium. And let's not forget the eggs. A boiled egg, 6 grams of protein. So if you have 2, for example, you easily get 12. So it would be almost a quarter of your daily minimum. Now, how you cook it matters, because if food is baked, broiled, or steamed, you're not adding extra fat, and you're kind of keeping that protein as the highest concentration in that food. And you will get more calories when we absorb the food. So oftentimes when you think of, and I kind of step aside from the protein conversation now, but if you look at the calories in food, a potato versus a baked potato, there will be more calories once you cook it. So an egg, 47 calories in a raw egg. Once you boil it without adding any butter or anything else, just boiling it, you will get 74 calories once it's cooked. With a steak, 196, once you grill it, 240. So cooking food adds calories, and it also increases the calories absorbed. Cutting and blending does the same. So that's why if you need to digest something quickly, for example, you have a workout coming up and you need to have some food for energy, go liquid. That way your body will digest that faster. Okay, so let's talk about supplementation, because oftentimes when we need, let's say if you're exercising actively, or if you're a senior and exercising very frequently, you will need higher amounts of protein that you may not always get from food, because it might be at the expense of fat or other things you may not be able to consume in such quantities. So adding a supplementation can help. So this is the prime situation. If you're not getting enough protein from real, whole, unprocessed foods based on your needs. And it's especially true for athletes that need extra. My philosophy is that when people ask me about protein, I always say real food first, because not only will your body digest it better, but as we'll talk a little bit later, you don't always know what's in all the supplements. They're not always regulated and safe. So real food will give you the clearest pathway to build protein. Sometimes you're too busy. You don't have time to make a meal, especially when you're traveling and you don't have food on the go that's the quality you're looking for, or students that may not have real kitchens. It's convenient to supplement. If you're sick, maybe you can't cook or prep real foods, or maybe you don't like to cook, or maybe you're tired. So that is often a good time to supplement. So supplements, it's a billion, I would say $130 billion industry. However, FDA does not review the supplements for safety or efficiency. You don't know how safe they are or how well they work. There are a lot of protein powders on the market, and here are some examples. So whey is water soluble, so it's easy to add it to water, shake it, and you got your protein drink. It's also rapidly metabolized, so we'll go and start helping those muscle gains right away. That's why majority of protein powders on the market is whey based. Casein is another popular protein powder. It's made from cow's milk. It's more slowly digested, which is actually nice in situations when you're trying to stay fuller. So maybe you don't get cravings, or when you're on the road and you don't have time to eat more. Soy, just like whey, is absorbed rapidly, and it's a great plant option with all the essential amino acids. Pea is, and here I'm not recommending anything, but I'll show you an example of the protein powder I usually get, and that is Garden of Life, and it's pea based. It's a great option for vegans or people that are sensitive to dairy. And it's a great amount of protein in that powder. Hemp is made from the seeds of hemp plant, has many essential amino acids. It is not a complete protein, so keep that in mind when you're getting hemp protein powder, but you're getting a lot of omega-3s, which are great for brain function. Other examples are milk blends and egg whites, but ultimately what you use, it really depends on what you digest well and what you enjoy the taste of. And that's how I ended up with pea protein, just by experimenting and seeing what my body likes best. So you'll have to see what works best for you. But again, keep in mind that FDA does not review these supplements. And in addition to that, there are a lot of other ingredients added. Besides protein, there are sweeteners, there are thickeners, there are artificial colorings. So you have to read that list of ingredients and see what's in it. So as an example, I can show you in the Garden of Life pea protein, it lists the typical, it will list the calories, it will list the protein, 22 grams of protein per scoop. It will tell you the sugars, which are usually 0 in this case, the fat, only 2.5 grams, a low sodium, and then it will list all the amino acids that are in it. And you will see, we've gone through that list, so you will see all the essential amino acids on there, in addition to some conditionally essential amino acids. But then you have to read the list of ingredients. And if you read that, it starts with protein blend, but then it goes in to add, lactase and phytase and a lot of the other things that are hard to pronounce. And unless it's an amino acid, if something is hard to pronounce on the ingredient list, I usually try to stay a little further away from it. On the ingredient list, you have to see what's in highest concentration would be listed first. So that's the important part, really, what's in the beginning. But as I said, focus on real foods first, because where you get the best digestion and nothing extra added that you know of. That said, if you're comparing protein powders, again, look at taste and how it makes you feel. But some of the studies show that there's not a huge difference in muscle growth when you compare these powders. A recent double-blind randomized controlled study found that young men 18 to 35, who ingested 50 grams of pea protein daily in combination with the resistance training over 12 weeks, experienced the same muscle gains as the men that consumed whey protein. So it really is what works best for you. There are also supplements known as BCAAs. So these are 3 of the 9 essential amino acids, specifically leucine, isoleucine, and valine. And they have a side, if you look at the molecule, they have a side chain, what they call a branch structure. That's why they're called a branched chain amino acid, which stands for BCAAs. So a great source of BCAAs are protein-rich foods like chicken, meat, fish, and eggs, or you can find them in supplements. And the reason we're talking about them is they are really important for performance. So if you consider yourself an athlete, you want to make sure that you're getting some of the BCAAs before you work out. They're key components of muscle protein synthesis, and they are really helpful in increasing muscle mass if you have some of those acids before you start exercising, and you can also add some after. Studies have generally failed to find the performance enhancing effects, but they do help with accelerated muscle repair. So trainers continue to recommend it. Keep in mind that any food, including protein, taken in high quantities can affect your metabolism. And BCAAs in particular, if you consume too many, can disrupt the normal function of insulin. So that can often lead to type 2 diabetes. So take an amount that is needed, not excessively. So here, I wanted to show you how protein shakes are made, since oftentimes when we supplement, you can blend them with water or milk, or you can make a shake and add other ingredients to it. So let me show you how Arnold does it.
I'm going to share it with all of you. And I wish I could just pour it into the lens to share it with all the people out there, because this is so yummy. Okay, so here we go with the protein. You wanted to see how a protein is made? Nothing special about it. I just put in a little bit of this almond milk, not much, just a little bit. Then for the taste, and also for muscle soreness and sometimes bone soreness, put a little bit of that in there. Then you go and you put the banana in. I don't do it always with clean hands, where I touch every dumbbell and barbell machine that other people have already touched. But it's just to get the immune system going and to really always be able to fight back. Okay, so here we go with the protein. Now there's an egg, a raw egg that we put in there. Well, actually, I like to put in the whole egg. Now, this drink, literally, you could serve at any bar, health bar, or any other bar. I sometimes put in the schnapps. I sometimes put in the tequila. So it just gives it a little extra flavor.
All right, so let's go. That was fun, right? Adding the entire egg. That can be done. But let's go step by step on how to make a protein shake. Okay, so step one is you add a liquid of your choice. Add a liquid. So typically it's a cup, 8 ounces, or just a cup, you can eyeball it. And the options are water, milk of your choice, like cow's milk or almond milk, cashew. I really like oat milk, soy milk. You can also add ice, and that makes it a little bit thicker. And you can use coffee or tea if you want a little bit more energy from your protein shake. So that's step one, liquid, a cup of liquid. Step two, you add your protein powder. And we've just talked about protein powder options, whey, pea, hemp, whatever your choice. You add a scoop. And some protein powders have thickeners added, so it might be a more dense shake if that happens. Step three, you pick a fruit or a berry. You know, it could be strawberries, it could be bananas, it could be mango, whatever your favorite fruits are, or berries, blueberries, and they can be fresh or frozen. So if you eat, if you like a cold shake, a thick shake, then adding ice and frozen fruits or berries can be really helpful to do that, or you can skip the ice and instead just add the frozen berries or other fruit. And you can also enhance your shake there with adding some vegetables. Spinach adds a lot of great vitamins and minerals at no cost to the taste. But you can also add other greens, other vegetables, carrots, broccoli, cauliflower. That's a great time to add them. Finally, step four, you add a healthy fat like nuts or avocado or flax or chia seed, and typically just like a tablespoon. Just a little amount goes a long way, or maybe a quarter or half of an avocado. And last step is you blend. And once blended, you can add berries on top, or cacao nibs, or hemp seeds or nuts. So that's your protein shake. And after this presentation, if you send me or Pam an email, I'll be happy to follow up with a protein shake recipe guide, so you can get some nice recipes for your next protein shake. Okay, so why are we constantly talking about protein? Let's get back to the reason. Now that we know all about protein, why is it so important? So we talked about all the basic functions in the body, but in the case of training, it helps us build and maintain muscle. So after you work out, those muscle fibers get broken. So we need to rebuild them, and we do that with protein. So protein helps build muscle after breakdown. And carbs are also needed. So it's not just protein after a workout. Make sure you have some carbs. And that's why most protein supplements will include some carbs. But when you make a protein shake, including the vegetables, will offer you some carbs there. So you restore the energy as well. It will also help your recovery, especially if you are injured not just for muscle gains. Adding protein to your diet helps you prevent cravings. And the reason is that protein helps keep you fuller longer. It's very filling. So for that reason, it reduces cravings. So if you keep that flow of protein throughout the day, remember we talked about the gas tank, keeping it full throughout the day, it will help reduce cravings and it will keep your appetite at a comfortable level. So it will help you maintain a healthier weight. In addition, protein is more, it takes more calories to burn protein. So as you consume and digest protein, it's going to take some energy. So you will burn some calories just digesting protein. And fiber often goes hand in hand with protein when we eat it together. A lot of the times for grains or vegetarian foods, we need to combine them together to create a complete protein. And that's where fiber comes in. And fiber also helps prevent cravings by keeping you full and helping regulate hormones like insulin. So protein will help keep you satisfied and reduce overeating. And finally, and most importantly for all of us, having protein in your diet will improve aging. So increased intake of protein helps maintain muscle and bone mass. So we'll counter the effects of muscle loss. And many protein sources also include vitamin D, like dairy, and calcium. So it will help support strong bones. Protein also reduces cognitive decline. A very, very recent study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, it was an observational study, but still, it showed that protein helped reduce cognitive decline. So for every 5% of calories that came from animal protein versus carbs, there was an 11% lower risk of developing dementia. And if it was, I'm sorry, this is not written right. For every 5% from plant protein versus carbs, there was a 26% lower risk of dementia. So a great example, beans and legumes. And that's probably why in the blue zones, you know, areas of the world that people live to 100 and beyond and in a healthy way, they consume a lot of beans and legumes. So that's really a key to having that protective association from cognitive decline. And finally, protein helps lowering blood pressure, especially an amino acid arginine, which is found in eggs as an example. It helps dilate your blood vessels. So we already know that proteins are the building blocks of muscles and organs. They're essential to tissue and cell repair, and that includes important brain chemicals. So that will help us improve aging. So that is it. If you're looking for more nutritional support, I will tell you a little bit about what I do. I help people set personalized goals and then build strategy to meet those goals. So I don't do meal prescriptions. I don't give you a diet to follow. We work step by step to stay accountable and consistent and see how little tweaks in your meals and meal planning helps you build healthy habits for life. So it's a realistic approach. It's not cookie cutter. It's not the same plan for everyone. So if you're tired of the quick fix diets, give it a try. It's same as personal training cost at the Y. And I use a precision nutrition pro coach system where you get specific daily actions, and we work on things that are relevant to your lifestyle and doable to your lifestyle. So that is it. So I am going to put my email there. So please email me if you are interested in receiving the protein shake recipe guide, or you can reach out to Pam and I will share that with her as well. And I would like to open it for questions. I'll stop the share and bring our gallery back.
Great. Any questions for Anna today?
I have a question. Could you explain, I think it was like one of the earlier slides where it said, how active are you and how old are you, whether to add, more protein? I don't understand like the formula there, what the 1.42 to 2 grams, is that per pound?
Yeah, so that is 1.4 to 2 grams per kilogram of weight. So you will take your weight, divided by 2.2 to get kilograms. So, and then from there, you would multiply it by either 1.4 or 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, or 2, kind of depending on how active you are. And that is your daily protein gram goal.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. And this presentation is going to be, it's recorded, right? So you can go back to it and see it again if you wanted to review
So
anything.
if you go to our YS site on the North Suburban YMCA website, you can click on West and it'll be under our podcasts, and it'll be up there maybe around like 6 o'clock today. Any other questions?
And, sometimes the questions don't come up right away. You might sleep on it and you think of something that you wanted to ask. So at that point, just email me, harris1147@gmail.com, or find me at the Y. I'm there pretty much every day except for Saturday.
Awesome. Yeah, and let us know. I can also help get some questions to Anna if you have any. So, with that, I'm going to close us out. That concludes our YMCA Education Series presentation. On behalf of the North Suburban YMCA and our YES Series, we thank you for supporting our organization and programs like this. Special thanks to Anna today for coming on and talking to us about the importance of protein in our diet. Programs like this are free and open to everyone in the community. So if you feel like you want to support us and make a donation, you can do so on our website, nsymca.org. We hope to see you at our next speaker series. That is this Thursday, June 16th at noon. We're talking about how to heal your heel pain and enjoy life again. So if you have any heel pain, you should join us at noon with Denise this Thursday. And with that, again, I'd like to thank Anna and everyone today, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.